Hello and welcome to the Cryptonaut podcast. My name is Mark Storrs, and hanging out with me virtually, as always, is
Uncle Bobby.
Uncle Rob. Thank you so much. Your back is better, my friend, and you're in front of your computer, and you look like you're doing much better.
I am. I'm mobile. The Greys tried their best. Fuck those little buggers. And I'm functioning in a reasonable way. I have the average amount of back pain that I have become accustomed to in my old ass life, and I'm very grateful for that.
Excellent. All right. And also, of course, joining us is
Cripston.
Oh, Cripston. Hi,
Yeah.
Cripston. It's good to see you.
Oh my God. It sounds like something that should have been on like a WB show like 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah, it kind of does.
Cripston.
Yep.
Cripston and Janelle.
Hey, it's that
they're
new
gonna
kid Cripston.
they're gonna break up.
He's so dangerous / interesting.
He's from the evil town next door, and he came to our good town.
Wrong side of the tracks, Crispin.
Yeah.
You can tell he's the evil one because he has the black Sonata Arctica fucking little beanie on. Like, you don't know me or Sonata Arctica. You don't even know a fucking idea.
Yeah, but on the TV show, he'd be wearing like 3 different layers, all of which would be tied together with like a flannel shirt around his waist, so we'd know he was the good bad boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, special,
Yeah, for sure.
nice little cute pair of boots. So yeah, we are remote. My daughter unfortunately has COVID, and I don't want to kill Chris or Rob.
Thank you.
So, because my friends here are definitely not the kind of folks that we want to get the COVID. So we're going to do behind our computer screens, which is fine. But more importantly, we are back at the pod. As mentioned, obviously, Rob's back blew out. We couldn't, he was all fucked up, couldn't do shit. In the process, actually, boys, we moved to a new studio. We were supposed to be there tonight recording, and we are not. So...
Right.
So thank you for that.
Yeah,
I mean, I was looking forward to it. I was super stoked about recording in the new space, but
Same.
on the other hand, you just got to deal with what's dealt you. And I'm delighted just to see you guys, albeit virtually.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, no, we are here. We are doing it, and we are back. I don't know how long we've been doing this series for, honestly.
Oh, it's been a life.
But
this is a new podcast. We're different men than when we began this odyssey.
So this Stardust Ranch now, we're going into part 7 here, the Apocalypse, Arizona. And I'm trying to remember how, so it was obviously, 7 weeks ago that we started it, right?
Well, not
6?
counting being ill for 1 week, so 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Johnny Beatback here, me, fucking screwed us out of a week, so, ruined the flow a little bit, but hopefully, at least when you listen to it in the future, you can catch it back in the stride of things. It's difficult when you have to wait 2 weeks, and I'm sorry for that. But yeah, we're at now something I can officially fucking say, though I have made this claim multiple times, at the penultimate episode, which is to say, not the last episode, but the one right before what must be the last episode, unless, of course, some big breaking news comes out about fucking Stardust Ranch.
Yeah, some new shit.
And then we change the title of the pod. We're the Stardust Knots, and that's all we're doing from here until fucking eternity.
Yeah,
I know, man. At this point, I don't know a life without John Edmonds. I really don't. Like, I don't even know how we go back to being a normal podcast.
Yeah, I don't know who we are. I don't know who we are.
I don't, dude. I don't. I really don't.
But it's worth it. It's been worth every inch of it, as far as I'm concerned, because even though we tell a thorough story, and I always say I let the story dictate. This is a story that is worth telling. For anyone that is interested in paranormal lore, this is absolutely incredible. And for those of us, particularly the 3 of us and all of our beloved listeners that like the batshit crazy, this feeds it to you so much. It is like all the sweet parts. That's it. It's like you're going to be like a mad crypto diabetic by the end of this, but it's worth it because this is just pure unrelenting joy.
It is. And yes, let's get started without further ado. Stardust Ranch Part 7, Apocalypse, Arizona. After over a decade of being called crazy, a liar, or worse, John Edmonds was about to prove that aliens exist. But on the threshold of this paradigm-shifting event, he was dealt a devastating blow that left him reeling. With no foreseeable end to his hellish ordeal, John found himself at the end of his rope. But just when it seemed as if he was about to drown in a sea of high strangeness, the rancher was thrown a lifeline from an unlikely source. The Galactic Council.
We could all use
shit.
a little help from the Galactic Council.
I mean, I need it right now, but because my week is fucked. But
That's true.
Dude, when the Galactic Council gives you, I don't even know what the fuck the Galactic Council is, but I am fucking excited to fucking figure this out.
We're going to find out.
All right, man. Well, let's do it, Robert.
15 years earlier, when he first set foot on the sparse yet stunning stretch of Rainbow Valley property, social worker turned rancher John Edmonds would not have believed what his life would become. Purchasing the 10-acre Stardust Ranch had been the fulfillment of a lifelong ambition to live in a safe place in the country where he could grow old with his wife and care for the animals he loved so dearly. Literally a dream come true. Now it was more like a living nightmare. Since the moment they moved in, John and Joyce Edmonds' entire existence had bordered on lunacy. They weren't alone. Throughout the ages and across the globe, average, ordinary human beings have been forced to contend with the often wild, sometimes woolly, and almost always weird world of high strangeness. Be they cryptids, ghosts, or ETs, our shared reality is chock full of bizarre beings and paranatural phenomenon, but as intense as it can get in the most infamous of these supernatural hot zones, very few, perhaps none, seem to be able to hold a candle to the Stardust Ranch. Until he moved onto the property in 1996, John, like so many others preoccupied with the workaday life of career, health, and bills, was unconcerned with the unexplained. For him, the bulk of the world's inexplicable phenomenon, whether they be pyramids or pigmen, tended to be lumped together under an all-encompassing umbrella stamped paranormal, then summarily dismissed as a waste of time. But that was then. By 2011, John had used the resources at hand, libraries, bookstores, the emerging internet, to do a deep dive into the nebulous fringes of reality, in a desperate bid to understand the world into which he and his wife Joyce had been unceremoniously thrust. For reasons he couldn't even begin to fathom, the ranch he'd purchased to live out the latter half of his life raising rescue dogs and horses harbored a whole host of anomalous abominations. For the past decade and a half, the Edmonds have been forced to endure a seemingly endless parade of horrors. From monster hunters, restless wraiths, and malevolent men in black, to aggro aliens, odd orbs, Brillo brutes, diabolical doppelgangers, and a pesky poltergeist, it seemed as if the Stardust Ranch had its rotting, razor-sharp talons in all of the paranormal pots. Top off this maddening array with malicious mutilations, a haunted house, fleets of flying saucers, massive American black-budget sky pies, and a freaky foot fetishistic alien art display, and you have a demonic Disney World that makes even much vaunted paranatural nexuses like the Skinwalker Ranch and Long Island's blood-drenched, devil-infested Amityville estate seem almost tame by comparison. But besides the sheer number of phenomenon on display, there was another key difference between the Stardust Ranch and both Skinwalker and Amityville. In the latter cases, the families living there, the Shermans and the Lutzes respectively, had the good sense to cut their losses and abandon these insidiously infested locales to the vexatious vermin who wanted them. It's a logical course of action that Joyce Edmonds would have been only too happy to follow, but John was made of sterner stuff, or, as he would freely admit, much stubborner stuff. Though every cell in his skull was screaming, for him to throw some clothes in an old duffel bag, pack their dogs and their pet macaw Scarlet into the back of his pickup, and at long fucking last, get his long-suffering wife as far away from this tainted place as humanly possible, it just wasn't in him to do it. At first, John claimed that he couldn't live with himself if he backed down from these dirty devils. As he told Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio, "I'm a typical guy. You get in my face, you mess with me, I will hurt you," and that's exactly what I did. I decided that there was no way I was going to let these little bastards run me off, end quote. But deep down, John knew that it wasn't just pride tethering him to the ranch. He was now inextricably entangled with the enemy, and like so many war-hardened warriors, he'd found purpose through his adversaries. Darker still, John came to the realization that he loved killing greys. He justified this by telling Scott, "If we don't kill them, they kill dogs, they kill horses, they've hurt myself, and they've hurt my wife horribly. I mean, our bodies are full of scars, the whole works. It's one of those things, if somebody does something despicable, some despicable physical harm to you, you have a tendency to resist and fight back," end quote. And fight back he did. Like a sadistic, synchronic samurai, once he knew how to put them down, he committed to the cause with wild abandon, eventually accruing a body count that was just shy of 20 victims. Most killed with a katana, others with his bare hands, including one, which we discussed briefly in an earlier pod, that he put in a headlock before he, in a move that was part Perseus and part WWE, literally tore the creature's head from its body in a glorious gush of blood and roaring testosterone-fueled fury.
Yeah, he's
so that
enjoying.
motherfucker's getting after it.
He's enjoying himself with this, and I mean, he's not wrong in the sense that they're attacking dogs and horses and his wife. So he's obviously exacting his revenge. At what point does that revenge turn you into a gray serial killer, though, where you're just like, I'm here to murder every single one of you?
I'm going to say the third.
Okay,
After the third. You're a serial killer.
That's the number.
I mean, this is arbitrary. I'm no expert on like how many fucking aliens you need to kill before you're qualifying. You know, that's space FBI's job. Whoever's in charge of that, the fucking Burning Man.
Yeah.
But that having been said, it's at the point where he revels in it. Now, from a real life point of view, that is disturbing and something you need to worry about. But from a cinematic point of view, there is nothing more beat down to me than a proper revenge film, whatever the reason is. If you have a justified reason to get revenge on people, and then at the end you feel bad about it. Like, we all get it. Revenge in and of itself is not going to solve the problem. It's not going to bring back a loved one. We all get the reality of it. But in a movie, you want to revel in it. And it seems like this motherfucker, in ostensibly the real world, is reveling in slaughtering the people that have hurt him and his wife, obviously, and murdered his animals. So
yeah, like I said, it's understandable, but at some point, it's like, buddy, you got to come back from that edge. You got.
I mean, he's a fucking social worker. He's a fucking crisis counselor. He should know this on some level.
I mean, you'd think with all this death of the aliens that if we get to the point that you're just like, let's videotape this shit and do a pay-per-view with it. Like, here I am, beating the shit out of Grays and smashing them in half.
Yeah.
But
well,
we'll talk about that later. Anyway, Robert, please continue.
But back in 2011, after he'd finally figured out that, like a cinematic Highlander, the only way to kill a Grey was to chop off their heads, John at long last received the call he was waiting for. The results of the tests being conducted on the exotic carcass he had taken out of his freezer, dismembered and shipped, courtesy of Federal Express, to the home lab of biophysicist Dr. William C. Leavengood in Grass Lake, Michigan, were finally in. And the verdict was clear. According to the esteemed scientist, John had provided him with the smoking gun that proved that human beings were not alone in the universe. What's more, the DNA was a strange synthesis of plant and animal with a cell structure that was more akin to flora, specifically grass, than fauna. As he told Jibber Jabber, quote, Leavengood went ahead and he sent out the samples to various different universities, big name universities. Of course, he didn't tell them what it was. He just sent it out as an unknown substance and he asked for them to identify it, and it kept coming back with the same information. And that was that they could not identify what it was, and that it was something that was capable of having the qualities of being an animal, but yet at the same time, it also had the qualities of being a plant. So the DNA just didn't add up. So they were fascinated. Everyone was fascinated. End quote. Stranger still, the samples tested were similar to others that had been discovered at the site of cattle mutilations, creating a corollary between various unrelated yet ostensibly, alien-based incidents. In short, the creature he'd killed was like nothing found on Earth, a true alien.
Well, I mean, we got science there, right? We got big name universities coming in. Colgate, right?
Yeah, I don't
Yale.
I don't know.
I mean Cornell.
Was there like a paper done on any of this? Like an actual scientific paper?
Oh, I don't know what world you're living in, Mr. Carnicelli. I'm sorry. Are you unfamiliar with the realm of exopolitics and the paranormal?
Yeah.
No, to cut to the short of it. And there's a reason for it.
Okay.
Okay. Well, all right.
But that doesn't mean that your skeptical hat is unwarranted and you should maybe fold the brim down a little and mean mug a little bit more.
All right.
Because there's reasons to doubt, but there's also reasons why it's not, currently being rejected by Nature or another peer-reviewed paper.
Perfect.
All right, man.
True aliens, fuckers.
Yeah.
Fucking Buffalo let's do it, baby.
John was on top of the world. Outwardly, he continued performing his duties on the ranch, feeding animals, mending fences, slaying greys, making breakfast for his wife, practicing with his katana while dressed in a bathrobe in the backyard. But inwardly, he was reveling in his newfound position as keeper of humanity's greatest secret. After years of ridicule, lost friends, and unrelenting assaults at the hands of these Orphic invaders, John was on the brink of unleashing a history-changing revelation. Aliens were real, and he could prove it. As it was his and his wife's lives in the balance, lives that would never again be out of the public eye once this announcement was made, John made it clear to Dr. Leavengood that he wanted to be in charge of the public release of the information. He had always been a very private man, and though this pudgy neo-ninja had fought valiantly to bring this knowledge to the forefront, he knew that the moment it was released, life as he knew it would be effectively over, and he would spend the rest of his days in the media eye as a spokesperson for the silent war that had been waged against humanity for eons. What's more, for good or ill, he'd always be known as the man who killed an alien. And that is true. That is a game changer. Once that shit gets out, you never have a private moment for the rest of however many years you live.
No, you do become the pudgy neo ninja. You're just like, this is the guy? This is him? And he's like, yeah, this is me. Here's my banana hammock and my fucking katana. Let's fucking go.
You know, real life heroes and conquerors, I mean, look at Napoleon, are not necessarily impressive physical specimens, but they fucking get the job done.
That's true. It's all about that
Audie
action.
fucking Murphy, huh? It always comes back to Audie fucking Murphy.
It's all about that.
That's true.
It's all about that katana.
In the meantime, members of the ufological community, both public and clandestine, had begun to embrace the Stardust Ranch phenomenon. Several organizations, including various universities, government agencies, and Big Daddy Bigelow's National Institute for Discovery Science, and that's his phrase, he calls him Big Daddy Bigelow, had come onto the ranch en masse with truckloads of high-tech equipment. John, still bitter that he could no longer lay naked in his backyard at night strumming his guitar, could only imagine what his ever-encroaching neighbors thought about these mini-invasions of scientists with their array of sci-fi tech. So yeah, now he has to give up, nude strumming, but now these neighbors have to watch all these scientists like pile out like fucking, I guess banks of computers, fucking metal detectors, who the fuck knows what. But they have to be wondering, at one point you're thinking, oh, maybe oil or something, maybe uranium. At another point, you got to be thinking, what the fuck is going on here?
I mean, I wonder how much of a pain in the ass neighbor John was. He sounds like he was a real pain in the dick to live next to.
Oh, especially because he was the first there, so he's way entitled. He never wanted to be around people, even though you think he would welcome this incursion because maybe it would distract the forces that are, predating on him and his wife.
Right.
But no, you can tell he was probably just a rank prick.
Yeah.
Just terrible about everything he did. Plus, he's always getting shot with AK-47s and dumb shit, which isn't going to help property value.
There's John. He's constantly covered in gray blood and gunpowder. Like he's just, or who knows? Maybe we're speculating. Maybe he was a great neighbor.
Beloved.
Maybe he was
who
awesome.
The fuck knows?
Yeah, but it just sounds like, man, this is a lot for any fellow property owner to be dealing with.
It would be hard to live next door to this guy, especially once you know his story and be like, well, shit. I mean, we'd be fascinated, but if you're just, trying to get the kids to school, just fucking do your shit.
Yeah.
You're just constantly hearing guns and fucking the swish of the blade.
Katana.
Yeah.
Dude, he's just walking in the backyard with his bathrobe and his sword, and you're like, oh, Johnny's at it again.
Oh, boy.
Must be a lot. I mean, then again, dude, he could be a blast at parties, man.
He's got the best stories. Oh, my God. Oh, my God, my voice.
Does. Oh, no.
Away.
Oh, no.
God damn you, Grays.
Oh God! They've taken so much away from us, Robert. Don't let them take your beautiful voice.
I've recovered. I fight the Grays on my own terms. I clear my throat.
Excellent. All right, continue, good sir.
On their second trip to the ranch, the NIDS team reportedly found evidence of a UFO buried deep beneath the ground. They wanted to begin excavations immediately, but John flatly told them, "If you want to dig, then you buy the ranch." His life was chaotic enough without throngs of contractors and excavators disturbing his animals and wreaking havoc on the property. Understandably, considering his public claims, the investigative unit asked him where the alien bodies were, which is the fucking $1 million question.
Well,
That's what
yeah.
everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
But even though John claimed he dutifully froze all of the carcasses and sundry dismembered bits for scientific posterity, he was unable to produce the evidence. In his book, Stardust Ranch, The Incredible True Story, John defended this thusly. I didn't have any bodies for them. The bodies kept disappearing out of my freezer. What do you want me to say? I love that. What do you want me to say? These things are phasing in and out of the reality of my home, but they weren't able to clean up the tissue samples, which is, of course, how Bigelow and others got a hold of the DNA on the wall. But,
Okay.
all right, so, I mean, it's legit, but it's also, you son of a bitch.
It's
Isn't
the
that
only
convenient?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, come on.
Yeah, it's very, very convenient. Like, well, I don't know what you want me to do. I'm not in charge of how they phase in and out of reality. Like, dude.
Well, it's true. He is not the president of reality phasing, in all fairness.
I mean, just kill one and get it to a sample. The team is there. Gray's got to show up at some point. Just be like, everybody, give me 5.
Right.
Kill it. Bring out its head.
True.
Cut off its feet. Who cares?
But here are other, well, let me keep reading and we'll discuss other options. Though in his book, John clearly states that the carcasses vanished, in what would become his most famous interview, conducted via video by author, journalist, and founder of Project Camelot, Carrie Cassidy, John was speaking when what appears to be a small gray begins peeking into the room through a door situated behind him. John's webcam being less than top of the line, the video gives new meaning to the word grainy. But even though skeptics have reasonably pointed out that the alien could have easily been a model or a mask or a fucking head of lettuce because it's so goddamn blurry.
Yeah, cabbage.
For many, this incident offered yet another piece of incredible evidence confirming the Edmonds account of alien interaction. Real or not, during the course of this and other interviews, John seems to slip that his unnamed brother, who lived on an unidentified Native American reservation, was in possession of one or more of the alien corpses. So that's a trip. And that was the brother that saw the Brillowy brutes, as I call them, and called them brujas.
Okay.
So-
Saw them walk through horses, those fucking coiled, wired, Bigfoot fucking chub-ass Michelin
he doesn't
men
have
things.
the body after he's like this. He's slaughtering them mercifully, and yet his brother mercilessly. I can't talk.
There's no mercy.
Merciless in 23. Mercy free in 23.
There it is.
But his brother has bodies. Like, did he give the bodies to his brother, or was
He
his brother
seemed
there
to say
killing?
it, and then he quickly reeled it back. You'd have to watch the video,
okay.
but it's interesting. It's interesting how he's like, well, we got this and that. And then when he's talking to like Dave Scott, I think I mentioned this either in the last episode or maybe later in this one, so if it's foreshadowing, so be it. But that he's not ready to talk about it. So even though he says they constantly disappeared, maybe he was holding on to certain ones, but just didn't want the public to be aware of it for reasons that will become more clear soon. So we'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, I mean, he's got a reason for all
I
of
mean,
this.
he has.
I'm
The
sensing
most
that Chris
active
thinks,
man in history when it came to anything, but yet, when it comes time to get any of the stuff, it's like, what do you want me to tell you? It's your fault, probably, that the corpses disappear.
I mean, this is par for the course, though. This is how it goes down almost every single time. Very rarely do you get the direct, I kill Grays, here's their fucking hands. You don't use their head. You don't get any of that. It's just convoluted.
what's this very rarely bullshit? That never happens.
Yeah.
Sorry, all right, it never
I
happens.
understand. I really do understand Chris's skepticism in this case. Like, it is a small mite bit convenient. It's a smite convenient.
You're worse than me.
I wanted to say smidge, but
Mercilessness.
I'll smite you, fuckface. But anyway, it is a wee bit convenient that that it never quite works out. So Chris is in a legit headspace with this, and we need him to be there because you and I are fucking not going to be there by the end of this Odyssey.
Yeah, I know.
We're gonna be all
man.
like fucking
I'm just
wow.
planting
Let's get the
flags,
money
that's all.
together.
Yeah,
let's buy
just
the
keep-
ranch.
Just keep playing. Yeah, Chris, we got a great idea for our Patreon money. We're
Dude.
moving the whole fucking office. We're relocating now. Tell Brad.
There's
I'm
a
not
lot of
against
phone lines.
buying
It's
the
already
ranch.
built in.
There's phone
There's
lines.
clearly still a UFO there that we can just hop in and take off. That he
That's-
didn't
it's
let
true.
them dig up.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. All we got to
God.
do is get our shovels.
Jesus.
By the
yeah.
way, should we get a UFO? Let's go.
All
So
right,
there
Robert.
may be alien carcasses on an unnamed Native American reservation under the key, the lock and key of his brother.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue. For anyone familiar with the often pernicious and occasionally lethal methods used by shadowy, violent deep state operatives to maintain secrecy surrounding the extraterrestrial presence, and more importantly, their technology, John's apparent duplicity will seem justified. With the huge splash he made online after coming forward, there's no way that the secretive sub-branches of the agencies charged with concealing the truth about aliens were not at least aware of the Stardust Ranch and the earth-shaking evidence allegedly contained therein. This is likely why he and Joyce had been pinned down in a hail of automatic gunfire and why the men in black were sicked on them. And while it's probable that some of the carcasses did vanish mysteriously, as he claimed, it seems just as likely that he would try to hide some of his extraordinary evidence as an insurance policy to keep he and his wife safe. A sort of dead man's trigger that could be instantly deployed by trusted parties if the Edmonds fell prey to foul play. So there is that possibility.
Yeah.
I would do that. I mean... But maybe I'm giving him too much credit too. That was my theory. He never once said, I got dead aliens and I'm going to drop that shit if you guys fuck with me. So,
just
it's
keeps
speculation.
them all in a trailer in the back, and he's like, gotcha.
They're
There
just
they
getting
are.
stinky in that storage room in the
Yeah.
backyard where bullets
Okay.
are whizzing through past his head.
Man,
I mean,
it just
I feel
seems
like they have ways to get rid of him if they wanted to, instead of just a hail of bullets out of the darkness, and that was like their only attempt. Like if the United States wanted him done, then he would be. Like
I agree with that, which makes me think, alternatively, that they didn't want to kill him.
Right.
That there is some benefit that we can't quite put our fingers on to letting somebody like this live and continue to, I don't know, within limits tell their story, but try to scare them away from becoming too public a figure. I'm not sure why. He also has a theory on this. But
of course he does.
That's
awesome.
I cannot
That's
wait.
for later.
All right.
But yeah, maybe they weren't trying to kill him.
Dude, we're like 8 levels deep into John Edmonds here. Holy
Dude, we're
shit.
not even balls deep yet. We haven't even met the fucking Galactic Guild. I'm sorry, Council.
I like the Galactic Guild better though. It's cool.
Oh, the
is
Lollipop
cooler.
Guild.
Fuck.
It's coming.
Oh man. All right. Here we go.
Whatever the case, over the years, John noted 2 things that occurred repeatedly to those who visited his place. The first was that the ranch rarely showed up accurately on GPS, resulting in guests often getting lost. The second was a phenomenon he'd been dealing with for years, as owners of other similarly possessed property had, and that was that it was nearly impossible for battery-powered objects to hold a charge. Be they drones or cameras, fully charged batteries would inexplicably die upon entering the space. John even had a running joke with his local car parts dealership, as he had to buy at least 2 brand new batteries every year for his vehicles. It was as if the ranch itself was a vampire, sucking not blood but electricity from everything it could sink its invisible tendrils into. One can't help but to wonder if the ranch limited its hunger to inanimate objects or if it also siphoned energy from living beings. Electrically powered living beings, which we all are.
Yeah.
Or not. Who knows?
Yeah,
Just saying, could have been. Indulge a quick breakdown here. All right, so for the first time, I'm going to backtrack a little to something we talked about before. In regards to an event mentioned in the last episode, wherein, quote, government-sponsored paranatural investigators from an unidentified agency, end quote, managed to flash a green beam at a gray and retrieve an evidently laser-chiseled sunstone, which John believed to be a portal remote control. Do you guys remember that incident?
Yes.
Gray got hit with a green, like mag light laser or whatever, disappeared. There was a stone, was carved through. No human could have done it, if you recall. So... So I found out more, and it demands to be told because it ties in with another major find on the ranch. In his second interview with the Camelot Project, conducted by Carrie Cassidy on the ranch in about 2015, John elaborated on the incident, stating categorically that while he'd previously acknowledged that the group was government-funded and equipped with military-grade tech, they did not represent any branch of the military. This is significant as it implies that it was primarily U.S. intelligence agencies that were interested in Stardust. John also stated that earlier in the day, before the incident with the ET and the oddly carved rock, that members of the squad were photographing his animals when they managed to secure the first images of greys on the ranch. The photos were taken in daylight at about 5:30 p.m., prompting John to tell Cassidy, "We're not talking about some spooky photograph in dingy light. We're talking about clearly visible, full frame, face of a gray. And it wasn't a little gray, it was a full-sized one," end quote. The pictures were taken while John was out back in the stable feeding the horses, and he and Joyce didn't see them until that evening when the nameless photographer showed them a pair of frankly out-of-focus photos of the skull-like faces on an iPad. So, Mark, I know you are familiar with these images. The skeletal, super fuzzy, like all the background seems to be in focus. The foreground is a smudge, a Monet painting. And it looks like it could be some fucking, Spirit Halloween alien, or maybe, just fucking maybe, an actual photo of a fucking gray.
Yeah, it's a real tough image to try to decipher. Because you're like, well, could be, could not be. It's so goofy looking. We'll probably end up using that as the image for this episode on Instagram, so you can check it out there.
That would make sense.
Yeah, but it's kind of like the video of the gray when it comes around the corner. Like with his webcam.
Yes,
it's along the same lines. Where you're
it definitely is.
Okay, if this is what we're getting.
I don't know. I know it was a woman who took the photo. She was unnamed. I don't know what her skill set is with a camera. I'm assuming that she knew a little something about it because that was her assignment. But who the fuck knows? Might have been her first gig. But that focus is way off. And there's two images actually. Yep. One is like a face close-up where most of it's in shadow, very Skeletor-esque. And I don't know. I don't even remember the other one that well. But anyway, he was impressed because it was well lit. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, focusing on the subject is important.
But now let's bring it back to the incident that led to the retrieval of the rock that we were talking about in the last episode. But their weird night was far from over. After dark, while wandering the back 5 acres, John and the team encountered another enigmatic entity. When speaking to Cassidy, John clarified that the creature holding the rock was not, as previously reported, a gray, but a small, pale, normally proportioned humanoid that was neither human nor gray, but something else altogether. Whatever it was, the moment the laser hit the thing between the eyes, it vanished, leaving behind the oddly etched stone. So, the stone was dropped. He still thinks it's a portal remote. It's like a weird sun pattern. He also said in another interview, and I have it written down, but I can't cite it right now specifically because my notes are fucking hundreds of pages surrounding me. That when he sees portals form in his yard, they look like that shimmering sun-like image at some point. So that's what made him really deeply associated with the rock. But anyway, we said it was a gray. It wasn't a gray. And this was also the team responsible for taking the two, I guess, only photos that we can honestly say are purported to be grays that I'm familiar with. Certainly from the Stardust Ranch, but maybe anywhere. I mean, there's video footage. I know there's the interview with that weird Muppet that's fucking like trying to talk or do something. I don't even remember.
This is where it just gets so fucking convoluted. It's just like, what is going on, dude?
Don't expect to get, but I'll give a little warning because no one told me as a kid before I saw Empire Strikes Back that you're going to have to wait for the comeuppance. It's going to be the greatest movie in the trilogy, in my humble opinion, but it's going to be the one that kicks you in the dick when you're little. This is the darkness before the dawn, as it were.
Awesome.
Right,
so there's going to be a lot of convolution and fucking some dick kickery, and then all will be glorious in the final fucking chapter.
All right, let our dicks be kicked, boys.
Yep, prepare. Gird your loins.
Nice.
In the midst of his madness, Air Force pilot cum ufologist Robert Collins, who'd put John in contact with Dr. Leavengood in the first place, introduced the rancher to a man named Daryl Sims. Known as the Alien Hunter, Sims was a former CIA operative, ufologist, and therapist who'd spent the better part of 4 decades doing research in the niche fields of alien implants and fluorescence. I've seen some of his images. He seems to be able to get photographs that sort of look like those old, like those aura like images that used to have on videos in like 70s documentaries on the paranormal of like handprints of aliens on the walls of abductees' homes. Like if they touch there and he takes a photograph through some certain filter, it looks like these weird multicolored, icky, sticky, like sort of black light jizz versions of handprints with like 3 fingers or something. I'm not an expert on it. I just remember seeing some on TV at one point. But anyway, something along those fucking lines.
All right. Sounds terrible.
He also abso-fucking-lutely loathed the Greys, as evidenced by his diatribes on Animal Planet's short-lived ET-themed Finding Bigfoot-style program Uncovering Aliens, which only ran for a part of 2013. A stance that likely put him in good stead with John Edmonds. And me. Even though I take this guy with a grain of salt, he's very passionate. He's very anti-alien. He thinks they're fucking taking over, and he wants to punch them all into the dirt. But
he does.
But
and he has.
I'm not sure about Daryl Sims. Not saying I don't think he's being honest. Just don't know about him. Don't know enough about him. It had been months since John had sent the alien body to Leavengood. The testing process was painstaking, but it had all been worth it during that time, the men had become good, if long-distance friends who were planning on holding a big world press conference to expose the whole thing. John had enjoyed relative anonymity for the bulk of his life, but he knew that it was finally time to go public. Then, on the cusp of making his monumental announcement, John received a shocking email from Leavengood saying that he was no longer interested in being involved with the Edmonds or their effort to reveal the existence of aliens. John was dumbfounded. He instantly replied and tried calling him, but Leavengood severed all means of contact. It was like a kick to the gut. Not only had he been abandoned by a friend, but just days before providing the proof that would change the world, the scientific backbone of the process, the man in possession of all of the evidence, was bowing out without a reason or so much as a word of warning. In desperation, John called Daryl Sims, the alien hunter, explaining what had happened. They agreed that the nefarious powers that be, whether by bribery or threat, must have gotten to Leavengood. The alien hunter, who was every bit as dedicated as John was to having the truth about the Greys go public, decided to fly to Michigan to find out what was going on and to try to convince Leavengood to change his mind. His trip did not go to plan. A few days later, Sims phoned an anxious John with heartbreaking news. Dr. Leavengood was dead. Though there is precious little to be found online concerning the incident, John told the hosts of Jibber Jabber that the doctor had been found dead in his home lab. Though he was 88 at the time, John implied that there may well have been shady circumstances involving the good doctor's death, though this assertion was evidently not shared by the local police as there was no investigation into foul play. In what would be an even darker twist, in the same interview, John claimed that the doctor's wife was found dead in the same lab just 1 day later.
Murder lab? Like how wouldn't that tip the cops off? Like, okay, the 88-year-old doctor fine, he's a little bit old, he died, but then like the next day the wife was found dead as well.
You would think. And maybe if they were both...
I don't want to poo-poo this, dude. You have no idea.
Maybe if they were both like 28 and 32, 41 and 56, maybe they would think about that. But 88 and I think perhaps in the high 70s, and a lot of older couples, when you've been together a long time, but there's going to be some monkey dicks in the works. We'll get to them in a second. But older couples, when they've been together a long time, they tend to drop off, especially if the wife goes first. Men can't live without them.
I mean, obviously, John is saying that they were assassinated.
Oh, yes. 100%.
So, okay.
All right, let's continue with this. This will help. Right. I won't help explain anything, but it'll give you more information.
Okay, cool.
When asked about the cause of death for both of the Leavengoods, the rancher replied, "I don't remember, to tell the truth. I think that it was natural causes or something like that." That's Dr. Leavengood.
Okay.
That the wife was an accidental death, something I can't remember exactly, like she slipped on a banana. End quote.
What?
He's just making a general example of some dumb shit. Like she fell in the lab, hit her head. But can you believe this? Something absurd.
I mean,
it's a typical Edmonds right here.
This is typical Edmonds.
You're just getting gaslit. You're getting Darvoed like immediately. Can you believe an 88-year-old man died naturally? Ridiculous.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
dude, that doesn't happen. Not in your home lab.
No.
Not when you're working on a project of this caliber.
No, especially if you try to back out. You're like, something happened. Like, what? No, scientists, don't leave. Oh, he's dead. And his wife died. Oh, God. Did the lab blow
In
up?
the same lab.
Had the lab blown up, had they been murdered,
Right.
clearly murdered. But
Right.
obviously there are toxins that manifest as heart attacks, and you do not necessarily do a deep dive autopsy on an 88-year-old who dies of a coronary.
Okay,
And
fair.
then when the wife slips and bumps her head, it is a tragic coincidence. I'm not saying you'd even need the machinations of a fucking deep state, dark fucking budget government to do this. That's just typical
True.
lazy coppery. Like, fuck, they're old. They died. Put on better shoes. Don't wear Crocs in the lab. Fucking, you fucked up. You
Oh,
died.
you want to wear Crocs, man? They give you stability.
Oh, my God. I'm done. I can't talk to you when you're like this. So
Stability.
here's something else that I have to... I must admit, I write, that the only mention of his wife I could find, that is Leavengood's wife, was in a PDF obituary for Leavengood that stated that his wife, Glenna, had initially piqued the doctor's interest in crop circles after seeing a documentary on TV in 1990. Glenna Leavengood, however, predeceased her husband in 2010 after a long illness. But while that's all I could find, of course, the doc might have remarried and it was his second wife who perished in the lab. I don't know. The online reporting on this is hella sparse, and it really is.
Huh,
Like,
okay.
you can't even get like death reports. You can't get like died, suddenly, died accidentally, was working in his lab, dedicated, had a heart attack over a beaker, and it's the way he would want to go. Nothing. Just sparse funeral announcements like send fucking flowers, plant a tree, fuck off, he's dead. So there's not information out there, at least.
right.
Now, if you maybe, a more diligent, journalist than me could surely like go through newspaper archives and find something. But in my, abilities, I not to mention I have to write a lot, and I had a lot doing. The half hour, 45 minutes I dedicated to this brought me only to dead ends.
That's sometimes, man, you just got to chase down them leads to, possibly another wife, or his wife was just dead and John didn't realize it.
Where they dug up her corpse and put her in the lab
Yeah, that's
a day after he died.
I wasn't
It's like,
going
why
there,
are these fucking
but I
well-dressed
like it.
bones in here?
I really like where you went with that. It's great.
Look at this brooch. It's adorable. She's dead again.
Look at those shoes. My God. All
I
right.
don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
All right. Well.
But let's get back to the meat and potatoes.
All right. There you go.
Whatever the case may be, it will come as no shock to anyone familiar with the often ominous world of ufology that all traces of the smoking gun evidence, from notes, lab reports, test results, samples, and of course the alien carcass itself, had vanished from Leavengood's lab in the wake of these supposedly suspicious deaths. If we are to take John at his word, and the corpses of all of the other Greys he'd killed had disappeared from his newly dedicated dead alien meat freezer, then he went from being on the verge of exopolitics immortality back to square one. If he, conversely, or his brother were still in possession of alien carcasses, then he'd just seen firsthand what happens to those who get too close to revealing the truth, even for those who'd recently disavowed any involvement in the disclosure process, which of course Leavengood did by cutting off contact. It hit home that not only were they all under siege by the Greys and their nonstop abduction campaign, but that John had painted huge bullseyes on the backs of both he, his brother, and his wife for even more dangerous terrestrial antagonists. Antagonists that he may well have unwittingly sent to kill an innocent doctor and his wife. So this is John's headspace now. This is not necessarily me theorizing. This is just like, fuck. And if he does have bodies, it's not like, all right, let's just do this again. It's like, well, shit, now I got to really seriously think this through. Because if Leavengood, let's just go on the paranoid conspiratorial limb. If Leavengood had been warned, it's like, Doc, we know where your grandkids live. We're not going to, you might be old and not give a fuck and want to find the truth, but we're going to find things that are precious to you. And if you come out and say any more or are involved with this any longer, we'll pull the trigger. So cut it out. And he says, all right, fuck this. I'm not doing it. But then they're like, yeah, but you still know too much. And you've got an alien body in pieces in your fucking home lab. So it's easier to like make it look like you were killed take all this precious evidence and then go running off with it. If that's the case, and that's how it really went down, it's understandable, and clearly this is what, John Edmonds thinks happened, why he would be so paranoid at this point.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. If that's kind of like you said, like kind of like the headspace he's in, then yeah, he's going to be just like spiraling, thinking that he's going to be next. Which, if that was the case, you'd think if he was like, shit, they're going to be coming to get me to stop this or to do whatever, that would have done it a long time ago. Like he's got he's got all kinds of shit happening. Like if they wanted to get him, why go after everybody else? Just get him.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
Make him look like he had a heart attack or a car accident,
or he fell on the katana. He was
Phoenix.
Yeah. There you go.
Or suicide him, as I guess the phrase is.
Yeah,
have him hanging from one of his back storage. But apparently that wasn't his speculation on this. I'll just state dead about not his broader conspiracy about why he wasn't killed, but in the short term, he thought that maybe it would put some gravity into his theories, and that by him mysteriously dying, sort of like in a Bill Cooper move, like all of a sudden maybe there is something to it. I mean, if the government's going to shoot down this guy, now they might have had legitimate reasons to kill William Cooper of Behold the Pale Horse fame,
right.
but him dying, in a hail of government bullet gunfire, definitely adds fuel to the fire of conspiracy for certain people.
Yeah,
on the other hand, it shuts you
true.
the fuck up, and he never gave another public speech again for obvious reasons. So I guess you got to take it tit for tat. So his thought is maybe they didn't pull the trigger immediately because it would just lend veracity to his claims.
Right. Okay. No, I could see that for sure. For sure.
So it should be noted, I'm going to go on a little side path here, that it was this terrifying incident, the Leavengood's death, that made Bruce McDonald, the eventual co-author of Stardust Ranch, initially abandon the project. As he told the Jibber Jabber podcast, by the way, this was the exact point I left writing the book. This is right around the time Leavengood and his wife died, and I said, nice knowing you, John. I'm going to stop this book now. It was not only the practical fear of falling victim to an assassin's bullet that scared Bruce, but the presence of sinister forces that began to invade his home as soon as he began working on the book. As he told Dave Scott of Spaced Out Radio, the extraterrestrials can communicate to you directly in your consciousness. In both instances, in 2012 when I started the book and the time in 2019, immediately you become aware of what I call the gray presence in your life. And it's kind of a sensation I describe as a little white noise in the back of your consciousness, and it kind of drives you crazy a little bit after a while, like water torture. A couple of weeks in, I had built up all this psychic energy around the book. The ranch knew I was working on the book, and the grays were here, and they can create moods in you. What they do is if they can't scare you, they'll provoke you, and they'll try to make you angry, get you frustrated, end quote. Furthermore, Bruce made it clear to Scott that he was apprehensive about actually visiting the ranch, stating, I'm a little bit afraid to go, to be honest with you. I don't know. I'm hypersensitive. I would definitely have all kinds of experiences there. I don't want to meet aliens, not really. Not these ones anyway. Here's my thinking. You can call me superstitious if you want. I feel that if I went out to Stardust Ranch and spent 2 or 3 weeks there, something would carry out with me and probably be around me for the rest of my life, and I'm not sure I want that. As reasonable as this concern was, John was devastated. It wasn't just the book that would finally explain his side of the story had suddenly been scrapped. He was overwhelmed by the guilt and sorrow associated with the Leavengood's deaths. Combine these factors with an acute fear for the safety of his loved ones and the dashed dreams of a world fully cognizant of the alien presence, and it was almost too much for him to bear. John had always been a fighter, and his mission to effect disclosure had driven this lifelong scrapper well past the limits of most men. But in one fell swoop, it had all been stolen from him. His friends, his evidence, his book. Everything he'd been working toward was gone in a flash. It felt like the end of the world. In a life full of hardship and pain, this was one of John's lowest points. And to make matters worse, even though he was ready, despite all of the obstacles, to trudge on toward the goalposts of full disclosure, it seemed as if the ufological world had suddenly decided to turn their collective backs on him. Despite the fact that he was in possession of a new, freshly slaughtered gray. As he told Jibber Jabber, I've always thought this is one of the biggest stories in the whole field. It's like you've got all these professional ufologists that are out there studying things, and they're on the lecture tour, and nobody wants to get involved with this story. Maybe it's because of the way the Leavengoods ended up. They don't want to come out and say, well, it's a bunch of bull, but at the same time, they don't want to get involved and acknowledge it. I mean, hell, I got the damn body. I got the DNA. Shit, I got everything under one roof, and everybody's just, that has to be bullshit. I'm really at the point where I've been treated so badly for so long that I don't really expect anything better. But really, this is going to be, historically, one of those things that people go back and say, Jesus, this guy had everything under one roof and the whole world ignored it and acted like it was nothing, end quote. So, I mean, it's like he's just hungry to throw it out there. I got another dead body. I got blood on the walls. I got fucking all sorts of shit. And nobody's coming calling, at least according to him.
Yeah, that's
sometimes I feel like this guy. Do you remember that movie A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe? Do you ever see that movie?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
this is like he's that guy, but not smart. like the guy in Beautiful Mind was. Like you're seeing all the shit. You're like, no, there's really conspiracy, but you go back and it's just an empty shed with papers, and he thinks it's a fucking.
A gray.
You know what I mean? Like, I can see this being the movie, like, from the other point of view, they go into the house and they just see, like, a bunch of dead raccoons. And that was what he thought. God. and he was just seeing grays. And he's like, I had all this shit. But I'm like, except that you have the no evidence for all the shit that you're saying. And you're just mad at the world because they're not believing you for all the no evidence that you have.
If
that
you're
you say you have.
Yeah, like, if you're that hungry, produce... If there's that many dead grays and you're that hungry to get this out there and this has to happen, it's on you to produce all this evidence. You can't all of a sudden be like, oh, the shit disappeared when the people come calling. And I understand that you're concerned about the Leavenworths and that whole death situation. Totally understandable. And I'm sure he feels bad about it. Quite honestly, they do just probably died of old age and he probably was not assassinated. But if you want to do this, you have to take that first step yourself, John. You have to go out there and produce the body, okay? Like
anything, you got to find a way,
man. Mark. He needs a mark in his life. God damn it, okay? He needs him to be there. To be like, John, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna kill a gray. We're gonna put it on fucking TV, okay? I'm gonna stream it on my fucking phone. We're gonna do something. There's ways to do this. There's technology, but
this is far and away the most frustrating part of the story. I mean, people that want to take the contrapoint would say he tried. He sent the body in pieces to Leavengood. He was trying to go about it in the responsible way. But I would agree with you. I mean, there was half-inch video cameras. There was tiny little camcorders with those mini fuck-all tapes that were so annoying that you need to find the exact camera it was compatible with. I don't even remember various versions of Super 8. Not the film, but the tapes. All sorts of dumb shit. Then it went to digital. Now, 2011... you have access to some fucking digital. I mean, it's not necessarily you can make a feature film with your iPhone yet, though that was coming right around the corner, but you could shoot really impressive footage.
Oh, for sure.
There should be ass loads of footage. And if you're going to take the time to write your journal, fucking accompany it with loads of photographs, not just katanas and fucking brake fluid on their floor, which I believe you used for the last episode or the episode before as the picture, Mark, but like the legitimate fucking carcass. That is a concern. That is a red flag, to be sure. And I understand the skepticism. But from another point of view, if he's really afraid, or as Chris speculated, if he really believes it, and the only other person that mostly is there to corroborate it is his wife.
Yeah.
And she might be defending her husband. For the longest time, she thought he was crazy until the AK-47 incident. It's hard to tell. But when you look at the broad spectrum of the story, tons of people came on the ranch, and a lot of people allegedly, though I haven't seen very many of them, or any of them for that matter, come forward, like the whole group of people that saw the not a gray, not a person that dropped the stone, or the woman that took pictures of literal grays on the property. Where are these people coming out saying, at least David Grush, to make a more current parallel, has all sorts of people he worked with, people that are also in prestigious positions and have esteemed careers, being like, no, he's a legit dude. He's a stand-up guy. Yeah. I've worked with him. I like him. I trust him. When he says some shit, listen, that doesn't mean I'm like not still skeptical of his claims, but it does mean I'm willing to give him the time of day. Where are all these people coming out and saying, pay attention to what John Edmonds has to say?
Yeah.
Right.
And maybe they're afraid too. I mean, but that's also going out on the limb to really try to make this happen. So we still have more to do.
Yeah. All right.
So this is about to wrap up. This dank ass dick kicker of an episode. I promise you, next week it fucking kicks out the jams. We're gonna wrap it up. We'll finish our analysis, and then we'll get ready to fucking move on to the finale, when the fireworks blast and all of the mayhem really comes to an apotheosis, if you will. With nowhere left to turn and the fight beaten out of him, John was at long last ready to throw in the towel. But as Hallmark philosophers have said since 1650, and yes, I Googled it, this phrase goes back to 1650, it's always darkest before the dawn. And just when he was at his wit's end, the dawn broke in the form of a bizarre phone call he received from a woman he had never met or even heard of, named Dr. Brandy Howe. The no-nonsense caller informed the perplexed rancher that she'd been hired by an anonymous third party to come to his property and help straighten things out. What's more, she'd be accompanied by a pair of alien warriors from the Sirius star system, emissaries of a conglomeration of noble, multidimensional warriors who help defend the darkest corners of the cosmos, known as the Galactic Council.
What in the actual fuck just happened?
I forgot what the title of this pod was.
No.
Until now.
Well, it's Apocalypse Arizona.
Apocalypse Arizona.
But Galactic Council was mentioned in the intro.
Yeah.
Who had agreed to help the Edmonds in their hour of need.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what's coming. Burnt out and broken, John had no reason to assume that this woman was anything more or less than another in the seemingly endless wave of New Age charlatans looking to make a buck, or misguided true believers who, like the Mormon exorcist before, honestly believed they had what it took to effect change on the ranch, only to be sent scurrying from the land with their tails between their proverbial legs. Still, with nothing else to lose, John agreed to let her try, and a date was set for Dr. Howe's arrival. Little could he have imagined at the time that this meeting would herald one of the most world-shattering events in his long and tumultuous history with the Stardust Ranch. A cosmic confrontation that would create a turning point in the lives of all involved, leaving some slightly better off and pushing others past the brink of madness. But that, my malefic minions, is a story we're going to save for what will officially be the final fucking episode in the Stardust saga. Of course, unless there's any addendums later on. But
yeah.
Right now, the final. 8 is enough.
Oh, man, there it is. Stardust
Jeez.
Ranch Part 7, Apocalypse, Arizona. Holy shit. It did. You're right, man. It was definitely a bit of a dick kicker where, like, oh, man, John just got nothing. Then all of a sudden, you got warriors from, Sirius A and Pluto and shit showing up with the Galactic Council next episode.
Oh, I'm gonna give a little spoiler here. They're not just from Sirius A. It's a conglomeration of multi-special. Awesome. I don't even know what you'd call like different entities of like light forms, different things that have come together to defend the universe and are specifically taking an interest in the Stardust Ranch and its goings on. And we will find out apparently what's happening, why it's happening, who the real enemy is, who we need to worry about, who we're still fighting against, who will come to our aid in a pinch, and why they will only do so in certain ways. There's going to be a lot to unpack, and a lot of sparkly shit, and a wizard war.
Oh,
against aliens.
Battle.
There better be.
At this point, if there wasn't, I would be disappointed. Holy
it's the full
shit.
Indonesian cinematic experience mixed with Roswell.
Awesome.
It's Skinwalker.
All right, man. Well, there it is. Be sure to stop back next week and join us. Robert, before we bang out of here, I got some announcements I'm going to do, but I'm going to have you bring up those Patreon shout-outs there. Good, sir. If you'd like me to, I can do the announcements while you bring them up, or you can just get right into them. It is whatever.
Oh, I got that shit right in front of me, buddy.
Oh, okay. Shit, damn. I got to pull my announcements up. You do that, and I'll get my announcements ready.
Beginning with Megan, a.k.a. Megatron the Destroyer.
Hell yeah, Megatron. Thank you so much.
Bubba Troll.
Thank you, Bubba.
Lone Star Custom Dice.
Hell yeah, thank you so much. Lone Star Custom Dice. Check them out on Instagram, I believe. I'm pretty sure you can Google them and they'll come up. They got really cool D&D dice. Check it out.
Yeah, they do.
Kuro-chan.
Thank you, Kuro-chan.
Anna Marie Shannon.
Oh, Anna Marie, thank you for your support. We appreciate it.
Evan Johnson.
Thank you, Evan.
Caleb Bunnage.
Caleb Bunnage, there it is. Thank you.
Dave Cook.
Dave Cook, what
About
up?
goddamn time, Dave. Seriously, the fuck? I've been waiting.
I know, damn.
Magda Luna. Ooh, that's sexy.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Magda.
He or she. Well played. Nice name. Cody Amos.
Thank you, Cody.
Bill Remo Delling Groom. No, I know. I read that fucked up on purpose. Bill Remodeling Room.
Okay, yeah, man. For a second,
I was
like,
thinking you
man.
did, but I'm like,
It was all scrunched together, so I just thought I'd
Okay,
be a dill. But yeah,
Bill Remodeling Room. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Holy shit. Jesus.
rounding it out. John Leclerc. I think I would have actually said it right, but he was nice enough to give us the phonetics and parentheticals. So thank you, Mr. Leclerc, for that.
yeah, the people clearly don't trust us.
Why should they? We've given them no reason, absolutely no reason to trust our abilities to say their name. I expect Smiths to fully fucking phonetically put it.
Nice. Yes. Thank you, John, for your continued support over there at patreon.com/Cryptonaut podcast. So when you are on the Patreon, you get access to the Discord on the $1 or the $5. And boys, coming up, we got a campfire. You can kick off spooky season with a campfire. Join the community in the General Voice channel on Friday, September 29th at 8:30 p.m., a.k.a. Mark Storrs time, Eastern Standard, for an open topic campfire. Share all of your stories about your true encounters and experiences with ghosts, ghouls, goblins, and other weird paranormal phenomena. Don't have a story? Come listen and you can join in the discussion. So yes, we're doing our Discord campfire. It's super fun. People get to come in, talk about their experiences. It's a great time. It's an open discussion. It's super chill. And again, that is Friday, September 29th, 8:30 p.m. EST, New York time, Mark Storrs time. Check it out there.
Love that shit. Always a good time. Always fun stories, always cool people.
Dude,
it's a real trip to be involved with those. I really enjoy those.
It's so awesome. So speaking of Patreon, we recently released a mega cut episode. This is the Mothman. This is actually Patreon episode number 179, the Mothman Supercut. This is available to everyone for free. You don't have to be on Patreon. We are housing it on Patreon. Now, this was edited and compiled by one of our Discord users and supporters, Dark Hero Dan. All the thanks and work go to him for editing this, because I brought this up as an idea, oh yeah, maybe we'll do a Mothman mega cut. And then I looked at it and was like, that's too daunting. I'm not going to do it. Dark Hero Dan put in the hard work. I don't know how he didn't lose his mind.
God bless him.
Because I had to go back and listen to it. All 8 hours and 26 minutes and 12 seconds, I believe, is the total runtime for the Mothman Supercut. So yeah, dude, Dark Hero Dan put in the big work there. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate it. People love it. It's awesome. And yeah, it's available on Patreon, because Patreon and Spotify are connected. You can go over to Spotify. You can look up the Cryptonaut podcast feed there, and then you can just download it to your device, play it. It's there. It ends up working out really great actually on Spotify. So yeah, man, the Mothman Supercut, it's out there. People are loving it. Make it happen and lock in.
Trip out, yeah. Just strap in and get ready for an odyssey. I listened to it, but I'm afraid I might slip back into the madness.
I forgot about Bobby Keel, dude.
I know, right?
I forgot all about Bobby Keel.
Made things were going on. I still haven't found that blue paper. It's fucking a continuing mystery.
Dude, and I dare say now what we're living through with Stardust Ranch. I mean, we lost Chris. The studio, we had to do some changing there. We got our new office set up. Your back blew out. My daughter got COVID. Dude, everything. Dude, the Stardust Ranch might be against us, kind of like the Mothman, dude.
Well, I mean, it's like Bruce McDonald said, the co-author of the book. The ranch knew I was writing the book. If the ranch is aware when people are spending a lot of time researching and writing about it, then it fucking knows all about Uncle Bobby and the Cryptonauts. We are on the radar 100%, because I literally have hundreds of handwritten notes from all the interviews, all the podcasts, all the bullshit. I have the one book, every article I could fucking find, printed out, fucking spread all around me on my desk right here where we're potting remotely from tonight. And I'm just like, if this is true, and I do take that with a grain of salt, but if that shit is true, then that motherfucker's got eyeballs on fucking Mark, Chris, and Rob hard.
Dude, it's going to be, we're going to have a whole winter of fighting off the Stardust Ranch's negative fucking bullshit energy.
Well, we got one more fucking week.
Yeah,
so
we got,
let's
yes.
hope we can do it next fucking week. I'm not even going to try to jinx it and put a nail in it. Unless, of course, new developments ever happen, but like fucking for our purposes, like boom, done.
Dude, Stardust doesn't forget. That's why I'm saying
No.
the winter. I'm not saying that
Dude.
we're going into the
Paranormal
winter,
elephant.
but Stardust does not forget. So this could be something that we finally got away from Mothman, and now we just done fucked ourselves with Stardust.
Or they're going to get in cahoots, and it's going to be
Yeah.
a fucking Mothman Stardust 1-2 fucking beatdown.
Yeah, shit, it might be. Fuck. All right,
Dude.
man. Well, there it is. Check that out. Again, super big shout out over there on the Discord. Dark Hero Dan, thank you so much for that big Mothman mega cut. We appreciate
Yes,
that. Be sure
thank
to check
you.
that out. Jump on there for the campfires. We got the Heller Space, the t-shirts, the Cryptonaut merch, the t-shirts and the stickers, all kinds of fun stuff you can buy there. Holidays are coming up. I don't even want to talk about it, but they're going to be here at some point, so you can go buy your loved ones presents that have the Cryptonaut shit on it. Because why
Dude,
not?
it's just
Fuck it.
post-Halloween. Just let it happen.
Yeah.
If you can really think literally July 4th to October 31st as the Halloween season, you can extend it as long as you fucking need to for your mental health.
I
like
have-
cold ween,
Right.
frozen ween, desolate ween.
Yeah.
Like all the fat, every month can have its own name.
I had told Chris that I went out and I bought like some those cool giant ass plastic pumpkins at Home Depot, and I have my Halloween decorations out front already. I'm getting a jump on it, and they're gonna stay.
9/18 is perfect
Yeah,
for
dude, they're
fucking
gonna
Halloween
they're gonna be
decoration.
staying well
Oh,
past
hell yeah.
fucking Thanksgiving for sure.
Yeah, throw some lights on them. Put a hat on it. Fuck it.
Yeah,
Little Santa
fuck
hat,
yeah,
an
it
elf
is.
hat, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. It works. So yeah, there it is. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Hopefully next week, if everyone here remains healthy, we'll be back together in our new studio and office. And we have some presents there, Robert, from some listeners that we'll be giving shout outs to then. But I didn't want to shout anybody out just yet because you haven't seen anything. You haven't seen any of the presents.
Yeah.
We got
no
a lot of
shiggity,
presents.
no shit. I
dude.
can't
Yeah.
wait. I'm
It's
excited.
super
I always
dope.
love presents. Thank you
Yep.
to everyone who supports us on Patreon and sends gifts. It is everyone listens. Thank you, but fucking the gifts. I mean, it is like mini Halloween miss to make Mark
yeah.
happy. I
There
fucking
it
love
is.
it.
These gifts are beyond anything you could possibly imagine.
Oh, so, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
no,
you guys
honestly.
definitely. Well, that was all Johnny Beatback. You decorated the office and you finished doing the big move all by yourselves. Thank you so much for that. So you're right. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on.
It's a game changer. It's really cool.
Yeah.
my
So
gosh.
it's fucking dope. So
I can't fucking wait.
we'll be talking with y'all next week. There you have it. Thank you so very much. You know what? Have a great week.
Yeah,
There
definitely.
it is. There it is.
Let this pod be the low point of your fucking week. Let fucking John Edmonds' anguish
Nice.
be as sad as you get this week. Have a great fucking week and get ready for the
Yes.
thunder.
There
Cleanse
it is.
yourself.
Yes. Get prepared. Be prepared. We'll be talking to you.
All right, goodbye.
There-